What would change if today you chose compassion over comparison? Hello and welcome to Start CS. I'm Delia and today's episode is going to be a little different. Usually I talk about business, customer success, growth, strategy, all those practical things that help us build and scale, but not today. Today I wanted a pause and I wanted to go deeper because the heart of every business, the fuel behind every project, and the spark inside every dream is the person behind it. And that's you. And that's me. And that's all of us. And this episode is really about something that we don't talk enough about: comparison, compassion, and honoring the journey we are each on. This all started with a conversation I had a couple of weeks ago with an entrepreneur I just met. We were talking about decision making, opportunities, and the way we sometimes look back and think, if only I had made a different choice. If only I hadn't missed that chance. If only I had said something different or smarter in that meeting. And I resonated so much with that because I've spent years, even decades, comparing myself to others, measuring my worth against their successes, paths, resources. For most of my life, I carried this invisible scoreboard in my mind. I'd look at someone's achievements, background, network, and instantly think, oh my God, I'm so behind. I should be further along. I should have figured this out by now. And it's exhausting. And it steals all the joy. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I finally realized that comparison doesn't make you better. It makes you smaller. And yet, we all do it. Because somehow, somewhere along the way, we were programmed to. By our parents, our teachers, society, by fear itself. Compare your grades, compare your salaries, compare your house, your body, your business. It's everywhere. And if we are not careful, it becomes the lens we look at ourselves through. But here's the truth. You and I are not meant to be copies. We are not supposed to walk the same path or build the same thing. We are different. We think, create, and feel differently. And that uniqueness isn't weakness. It's the reason we can build together. Your strengths complement mine. My perspective complements yours. That's exactly how teams, communities, and businesses are built. But when we compare, we miss that truth. Instead of admiring the others, we belittle ourselves. Instead of learning from each other, we punish and criticize ourselves. And also, let's talk about regret for a moment, because comparison doesn't just happen with other people, it happens with our past selves too. We look back and think, why did I trust that person? Why didn't I see it coming? Why did I make that choice? But here's the thing, you are not the same person you were when you made those choices. Back then, you had different knowledge, different resources, different strength. And yet, even at that point, you moved forward. One is bigger than zero. One step, however small, is more than standing still. And instead of judging your past self, why don't you honor them? They did the best they could with what they had. They walked you here. I was thinking about some examples because sometimes this really shows up in really subtle ways. Maybe you scroll through LinkedIn and you see someone announcing that their startup raised millions, and you cannot help but thinking, why not me? Or maybe a colleague speaks confidently in a meeting and you think, my God, I will never be like that. But here's what we don't see: the sacrifices behind that funding, the insecurities behind that confidence. We rarely see the whole story. And often the parts we cannot see are the ones that shaped those person's character. There's a quote I once read, and I wish I could remember who said it, but it sounded something like, great things come from people with great character, and great character is built in those who have suffered. Now, I'm not saying we should romanticize trauma or hardships. Not at all. What I'm saying is that we cannot change the past. We can only influence today. And by influencing today, we can influence tomorrow. What I'm saying is that maybe the difficulties we have faced weren't meaningless. They shaped us. They gave us resilience, made us creative, empathetic, traumatized, of course, but that's the negative part. And we couldn't have developed without all these things. And these are exactly the things that make us us. So, how do we deal with comparison? How do we move from belittling ourselves to building ourselves? Here are a couple of things I've learned. I shared them with you. Maybe they can help somehow. Admire without comparing. Next time you see someone doing something amazing, don't use that as a mirror to criticize yourself. Instead, use that as inspiration. Say to yourself, oh my God, that's possible and that's really exciting. What can I learn from this? Then honor your past self. Instead of replaying regrets, thank yourself for surviving, for choosing differently, for moving forward. You are him because of them. Celebrate small steps. Again, 1 is bigger than 0. You don't need to take a giant leap. Even one tiny action is still progress. Get curious, not judgmental. When something doesn't really go the way you want, ask yourself, what pattern led me here? What can I do differently next time? And try to ask those questions from a place of self-discovery and curiosity, not from a place of blame. And one question that is really, really relevant here is, where in your life are you comparing yourself to someone else? And my favorite question, what would change if today you chose compassion over comparison? Be kind to yourself. Stop measuring your journey with someone else's ruler. Your story, with all its twists and hardships, shaped your character. And this is exactly what builds great things. So remember this: 1 is bigger than 0. 1 step forward is more than enough, and you are already on your way.